This weekend will mark the 40th anniversary of perhaps the greatest event in the history of our game. It was the 1970 V.F.L Grand Final between Collingwood and Carlton. The two great old rivals fought it out before an all-time record crowd of 121,696. Their contest would produce the biggest ever grand final comeback and change the way the game would be played in the future. Recently, the heroic winning coach that day caught up with four of his men to share a drink, a tall story or two, and to reminisce about that remarkable day 40 years ago.
Collingwood, late 60s, 70, they were the main rival to Carlton.
The lead up to the grand final was huge because of Carlton-Collingwood and rivalry, and it was really intense.
I can remember just a massive crowd. It was the biggest crowd ever, still is.
John Nichols leads Carlton.
Hitting at the ground and the noise was just overwhelming,
A crowd on grand final day's got a sort of a feeling to it. It's just fantastic.
Muscled by Collingwood's blistering pace, Carlton's defence is ragged.
They were doing everything right, we were doing everything wrong. We were slow, we were behind.
Dunn traps it. Dunn gets around under his left boot. He shoots at the big one, and this, a left footer through.
I think I could see what was unfolding before us was a lack of pace in the Carlton team. They were chasing tail too much. Collingwood were ripping away much sharper.
Side. Oh, Jesselenko, you beauty!
I'd seen Jezza take, screamer after screamer over the years, but that one was pretty special.
Short of half-time, Tottenham kicks his second goal from the flank, and the Blues' position is desperate.
The thing I can remember at half-time is being embarrassed. We'd hardly given a yell. We're 40-odd points behind, and it was just going to be like the worst day of your life.
I can remember going into the rooms at half-time, and I grabbed hold of our stats guys. I said, what are the handball figures? And I think the answer was 16.
And when Ron came out and he said, well, for weeks you've been practicing this handball from the back line, so we're going to try and do that because all you guys are doing is chasing these guys, and we want to turn it around so they're chasing us.
Carlton replaces Thornley with Hopkins. 12 times during the season, more than any other senior player in the competition, Hopkins has been on the reserves bench.
So, yeah, I was well prepared because I'd sat a lot of games on the bench and had an occasional run, and when you knew that, the coach said yes, you had to get into the game quickly.
Walls, a quick hand pass to Hopkins. Hopkins in a bit of trouble, but he shoots. He's put it through.
Everything was starting to turn around then. Eddie Jackson was hard in the forward pocket, and he hooked it over on his shoulder on the left foot and went through, and we thought, hey, the game's changing here.
Everybody realised that, and especially in the last quarter, and we're full of running in the last quarter.
Jackson goes after it now. Look at this fella go. Jackson.
Every time I got the ball, or where I was, I looked up and there was Ted Hopkins in front of me, so it was fantastic that he was there, and I was able to assist him with some of those goals, so maybe three of them.
And I've been sitting there with Percy Jones, Sid Jackson, Robert Walls now. Each one of them is claiming 2 goal assists, so that means I think I've kicked 6 goals rather than 4.
On a slight angle, Brent Crosswell. It's on its way, it looks pretty good.
Jesselenko dashes in to kick to the unguarded goal.
Came roaring out. He turned around his left foot and he kicked it, and it bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced and rolled through it. It put us 10 points up.
From that moment, I think we knew that we had a big chance then.
The Southern stand, and people stood up. Amazing.
think I limped up into heaven. There is a photo of me leaping up off the bench, and that's what I felt like.
It was like an explosion of joy of others. And I can remember some excited fan just running onto the ground and just holding me.
All of us, we were all screaming and yelling and hugging each other, and I said, just not really realising that you won it, but you knew you won it, but you couldn't believe that you won it.
Fantastic comeback. They were gone to the world at half-time.
I just go back to the overwhelming joy of everybody around me, and then when I start to run on the field, the players are beside themselves. Naturally, they'd pull off one of the greatest thieveries in world sport, I think.
Brashy said after the game, he said you'll be hero forever after that, and it was exactly right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage 1966 All-Australian and a member of that famous 1970 Carlton team, John Ragsy Gould.
Thank you, Tim. Good evening, everyone.
Ragsy, I think you got the name not because you were a dashing, flamboyant half-back flanker, but because you were a dashing, flamboyant ladies' underwear marketer off the field. Now, how did that stand up when you got out in the parry and thrust of on-field combat?
Oh, you should ask Des Tottenham. I think he called me a poof the whole time I played in about 8 years. We still happen to be mates. You might like poofs after all, Des.
The famous game, post-war conservatism had moved on to revolution and the age of Aquarius. Was this the game for its time?
Well, it's fascinating. You know, we're in a time capsule with football. Every year the same issues arise, no matter, it's only a change of name. And if you reflect, back in 68, Carlton won a flag, and we had a better side in 69, and Richmond came from fourth when we only had 4 teams in it, which was, I think, one of the few times ever the side that finished fourth actually won the flag, knocked us off by something like 10 points. And I'll never forget, after that game, the travesty and the feeling, the disgrace of failing, letting your teammates down, letting your supporters down. It was mortifying. And the look of anguish and distress only reminded me of St Kilda last year. And in the end, grand finals are won by attitude. And it's very few teams that haven't suffered that terrible, disgusting, rotten, stinking feeling of losing a grand final and then have to crack the next year. And that attitude and development of that attitude, that even at half-time, they all talk about Brass, who was a wonderful bloke, a great mentor, what he did. But no, what really happened, I think the reason why we won the grand final was we looked at each other at half-time. We realised the taste of the grand final the year before, and there was just a mindset, and we're prepared to do whatever was required with that desperation it takes to win a grand final. Grand finals are bloody hard to win.
Very quickly, is the greatest game of all time tag justified?
Oh, look, I think one should never self-proclaim their own games, but there's been a lot of great games of football played, a lot of wonderful people. The 60s era, I've just been mixing with them tonight, just reminds me of what incredible super group of blokes who never got paid any money, all there with one reason, they want to go and play footy. And I would never suggest we've had better games. It certainly was a pretty special grand final.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank John Gould. We're taking a break at the 2010 Brownlow count, following the next of our Toyota memorable moments of the decade. Alas, Jez's mark isn't eligible. Here is number 3.